This is Crazy, aka YMSI sign in, and this is a qualifier match from the January 2017 Open Tournament. This match is between the League of Shadows, TLOS, and Echelon. I'm not entirely sure I actually know how to say that correctly. On the top right, we have... Oh! This is something I didn't mention yet, guys, but now you're in for a wondrous thing. It is the Battle of War versus war. Tank versus tank. War versus war. Capital R versus lowercase r. It's gonna be beautiful. Anyway, in the bottom left we have the League of Shadows. In the top right we have Echelon. Echelon is captained by StimZealot. The League of Shadows is captained by Pornexus, who this game is a Raven, not a Void Ray. Much disappointment on my end. But we are in for a... Ooh, look at this. Double BC comp. Alright, so let's check this out. We got ranged missiles. This is a kite-heavy comp with 2 BCs. This is exciting stuff. I've not seen a double BC comp, I don't think yet. Stream is on a 3-minute delay, so they shouldn't really be able to see it yet, since it has not started and will not for another 3 minutes. And then Shiloh is going Plague open. And Unknown Jedi has opened Charge. And I'm guessing Snow will go Imp. I will correct myself if that is somehow incorrect. Pornexus going from the League of Shadows, we have War going Charge. Iskander going 5 Rocket 9 range. Zorba going Plague. Pornexus going Imp. And Thunder going Plague. This is double Plague. Wild opening, man. Over here we have Butt Harris also going Charge. So we got double Charge, double Plague, 5 Rockets, and ooh. Yeah, Snow has lots of targets for the Imp. We'll have to see where does the first Imp land. What's Pornexus going to do? Is Pornexus going to... I mean, he has to imagine there's no way this guy has any spells. That's not a great Imp target. But if Snow can get in here and get the... Oh! Porn misses the Imp. Snow's Imp is good. Has he realized that Butt Hairs has charges yet? Each one is 50 energy. 1 Imp would be denying 2,000... Oh, beautiful. Actually, 1,400 shields, but also 2 charges. Effectively up to 1,700 life in favor of Unknown Jedi. Beautiful. And then where did Porn Imp after that? Sure. He might have... I think he imped StimZealot. I honestly don't know where Pornexus is, but he must have passed that, didn't he? No, actually their energy amounts are the same, so... That missed Imp was the missed Imp. Yeah, War cutting in here. They think there's a kill? 2 charges on what? On the Colossus? Can they actually kill the Colossus? It's intense. I was thinking not, but they sure threatened some real damage there, but now Butt Harris is going to have to make a HP withdrawal from the double kiting DCs. This is going to be a very rough withdrawal, actually. He wants to get that Plague off, but he also doesn't want to be so out of position. Actually, a little bit surprised that Zoltan backed off. The double kite was so strong. They're going to be in base recovering from this failed dive in the Colossus for quite a while. This is a very expensive... I mean, they're already down 75, but they will be down, I'm guessing, at least 200 farm as a result of that failed dive in the Colossus. But on the other hand, Echelon, that name, man, can't stay here too long because StimZealot is already burning. And they have to be careful because they will be slow. Got 0.61 speed here, but actually 0.61 speed there. Not that slow. But only 0.51 speed on the Colossus and 0.61 speed on the Overlord. So yeah, about 200 farm. I think they might have been able to stay just a little bit longer, but on the other hand, I might actually need to get something to drink. Rough. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly get something to drink. Sorry about the brief lapse in commentary, but there should be just blue team coming out pretty soon, so we should have just a minute. Alright, so blue team has now come out. StimZealot with Scan, War with Hardened Shield, Shiloh with Siphon, Zoltan with Lockdown. We're pushing into the siege creep, getting it cleaned up. And red team, although the farm is evenized, they do have to be very careful because really they have not, some of them have not spent minerals in a while. We have Thunder sitting here on 600 minerals, so they don't have a lot of disengage potential if something were to go wrong right now. So blue team should be pushing out here, and I'm expecting this to go all the way to the red team base. And then I think they will have a slightly easier time holding at the base this time. They wanted to be very careful last time around because they didn't really have any ups yet. And so even with just a few ups from the red team, it would be very dangerous, especially since they know there is so much damage potential from the 2 plagues and the double charge. Alright, so blue team is going to take a slight farm advantage here, while the red team heals and ups. And although Roar is trying to avoid letting them just casually farm everything very easily, he's also taking a lot of energy denies, so he can't keep his bots up even. Zorba just ate a siphon there. Some sort of obnoxious background noise where I'm living, unfortunately, but there's nothing I can do about that. Or eats a plague. And red team is just pushing out. So, all in all, actually, I thought blue team would be a little bit further ahead in farm from that opening push, but it seems like it's pretty close. Red team will make up the lost farm on this push unless there's a big turn, which, considering how much money is unspent, I don't think there will be. In terms of late game comps, these are pretty different. The second Overlord means that the red team will have occasional squishiness, especially on backs. This is the main issue with having double Dread, double Overlord, is that when you're moving away from the enemy team, you have no kiting damage. It's really just all in the frigate. So if the enemy team starts diving on you really hard, it's hard to push them off. The plagues and the charges really end up being the main part of the damage, but if the dreadnoughts have been imped down, they can't drop those very consistently, or locked down, right? But does the blue team then have a late game advantage? You know, if this does go to late game, the 2 Overlords with double Swarm Command can make life very frustrating for the DCs, actually. And in that case, it might be that the frigate and the double overlords will end up doing better if this does get to the late game. Still, there's so much burst damage potential right now that expecting the composition to be exactly as it is by the time we get to the late game, I'm not counting on it. I think I feel like it's not unlikely there will be a big kill somewhere in here. It's hard to say where it will be yet, though. Interesting is that Unknown Jedi is still on 0 armor. Fat Harris went ahead and picked up 4 armor, but Unknown Jedi is still putting everything on energy, protective field, bots, and explosive charge. I feel like War's Colossus is going to be really big here. It's one of the key differences is that in terms of pushing into enemy siege creep, the Colossus does a very much better job than anything on the red team is capable of. It's also the case, though, that blue team is a lot more susceptible to blackout than red team. Even during blackout, red team will still have 2 of their biggest damage dealers fully operational, since the 2 overlords cannot be affected. On the whole, this is looking like it could be a very good game. Get into a solid mid-game. I mean, we're pretty much already past the early game. We're getting into the mid-game. And both teams are playing well. Both have the radar, so they might not go for any big warp tricks. So it's going to come down to an unexpected push, positioning, and build. Let's see if my voice can keep up. I don't know why it's going crazy, unfortunately. Excuse, the screen's going to pause for just a second while I check something. Alright, I now actually have chat visible in case someone does pop in. I don't want to miss. I mean, the core of each team is identical in terms of Dread, BC, Raven, Overlord. Each team has at least one of those. Then the key differences are Colossus versus 2nd Dreadnought, and BC versus 2nd Overlord. Yamato denied with the Imp. Very low rockets so far, so even though this was really looking to be a tight, heavy comp, Stim has gone a little bit more of an energy direction. Zoltan has gone heavier into kiting with 7 missiles, 10 range. Ion Cannon is up to 3,000 damage versus shields, pretty much capable of dropping half of StimZealot's shields to max. So much burst damage all over the place that positioning is just going to be constantly important. Blue team is actually sacrificing the entirety of bottom farm at the moment. Thunder is down here just picking up what he can, but he wants to say he doesn't want to get too far out of position, because if blue team pushes in, he needs to be ready to help with the extraction. Farm is still very even for 18 minutes in the game. No team has really developed a massive advantage. And as I was saying, you know, in some ways it seems like red team should be better in the late game, but it really depends on build and how people play. Blue team all backing together. Red team will pick up a little bit of farm, but they're down 100, and they also don't want to get too far out of position since Pornexus is just now warping in. This is where StimZealot, really has to make some big decisions. Basically they're now looking at, okay, this is going to be a long game. Guys, get some of your farming upgrades. Everyone's getting some lasers, 8 utilisks. Interesting that Zoltan is still on 2 lasers. He will drop to a 3-shot farm in just about 30 seconds. But he really wanted that defensive shield. So that was his decision. Yeah, pretty much everyone making sure they're staying on 2-shot farm. A lot of people kind of thinking that, okay, on the one hand, we need enough power that we're not going to get pushed back too hard, but we can't let our farming ups get totally forgotten about. War is getting a very heavy push, and this is exactly what I was talking about. That positioning is very important because when blue team starts pushing, if someone is out of position, it can be very hard to get a disengage until Butt Harris gets over here. with his amazing name and 5 armor. Pushing in, trying to get the damage open so that they can threaten StimZealot. Now transitioning to Unknown Jetty. I don't think blue team is going to lose a ship here, though. Which means that this is getting increasingly dangerous for red, since both dreadnoughts are down on energy, so all damage for extraction would have to come from overlords. Tight mid-game combat here. This is beautiful. It's nice to see 2 teams that for much of the game are evenly matched. These are enjoyable matches to watch. Although it can occasionally feel like 2 people slapping each other with meat. There's 2 tanks on both teams, and it can just feel like there's so many massive health pools that no one can ever be really in a position to die. But sometimes that's really what you want. I mean, certainly there's enough damage here that multiple ships have been threatened. If they hadn't disengaged Thunder back there, or the Overlord, Stim would have died from Psyblast. He was just 2 or 3 Psyblasts away, and as the game gets further in, that's going to be the threat, especially if Zorba and Thunder can both get on the same target, dropping Psyblasts. Really, there's not a lot that blue team can do to counter them in terms of energy war. There's no Arbiter for feedback, so all of the denial has to come from Imp and from Shiloh Siphon, because even though Zoltan has lockdown, and even though Stim also has lockdown, neither of them have any way to really deny the Overlords. They would have to force them back with the range and the missiles and the damage. And wow, this is it's just 1 versus 1 up here, but this is a very dangerous situation. Shiloh is actually burning from the plague. Another Psyblast, and he might have burned to death before he got back to base. It's hard to watch to watch and know where the action will be when so many ships have so much damage potential, and actually with the Overlords, death can come in kind of unexpected places. Sky Fury, but War is going to pop in with Hardened Shield and tank this damage. 24 minutes in, and the farm is still neck and neck. It's relatively well spread across the entire team as well. So it's not as though there's one ship on their own that everyone is counting on to carry and save the day. Blue team turns. They're not going to let their Tempest Spike fight that easily. Both Dreadnoughts are very heavily denied. Butt Hairs doesn't want to fully disengage, but doesn't want to be taking all the damage from the entire team. Iskander is trying to get in here, but he also has to be careful in positioning, but they can't turn on him. So they're trying to keep all the ships spread out while also dealing damage. Butt Hairs is pushing in with really just armor and gats at this point. Unknown is also low on energy, so he can't just keep pooping out his explosive charges. Beautiful game so far from both teams. Another thought here is that it will be slightly easier for the red team to pick off towers as the game goes further on, because the double Overlord will have more range and a little bit easier time dropping focused damage on the towers. In, maybe not yet, but within the next 10 minutes, if the game is still like this, where blue team all goes back at the same time, that could be what ends up happening, is that red will just turn this really into a war of attrition, take down both the towers if they can, one at a time, and then just win on a good push going back into the blue team phase. Skander just a little bit, not terribly out of position. And he is actually not on 10 shields, so he has to be very careful. Stim is now getting pushed in on again, but Harris can't stay here very easily. He's taking a lot of damage himself. So this could be a very big push, except the Overlords aren't here, and that's the main force of the red team damage. Without them, there's really only the Gats. And so now, Zorba actually has to be careful that they don't turn on him. Thunder is here. There's a nuke on War, but I think he can outrun that on 0.71 speed. In any case, it won't kill him. Ooh, this is very dangerous for Thunder, because there's... Okay, yeah, Pornexus is going to drop an imp to make sure that he does not get picked off in Psyblasts. StimZealot still down here with his 4,000 life. He has his bubble, so he's feeling good. Wow, look at this. It's within like 10 farm at the half-hour mark. That very rarely happens. For a second there, it was almost the exact same farm. 6 ships all alive. Now another concern is that the longer the game goes, the more Iskander will start to struggle. But that won't really be the case until Snow gets PDD, which he has not yet. Until PDD is out, the frigate still can do a lot of damage with his rockets, but between the 2 BCs and the imps, it can be very hard to really maintain those ion damages. Pushing now in with Tempests. War wants to push them back a little bit, but you have to be careful. But Harris is getting in here, trying to clear up the Tempests at least. Colossus is technically burning, but he still has 12,000 shields, so that doesn't hardly matter. Gats are on. Oh, blue team turns, but not entirely sure. Blackout. This could be a very big blackout. They still have, but there's so much armor. 10 armor, and there's no muke, there's no spell damage coming in. Zorba has to be very careful. The 2 BCs want to be ready to turn on the Overlord if they can, but again, there's so much meat. Everyone is slapping. Oh, there's a Torp. There's a Torp. It's gonna. Wow, War almost ate it. That would have actually been very dangerous for Iskander. Oh, War is now down to 2,000 shields, 1 HP. War, it has died. Unknown Jetty wants a revenge kill. He wants to make up for it. But there's too much support. He's not going to be able to do it. He's going to have to disengage, and that's a very, very big pickup. The League of Shadows... It won't necessarily win them the game, but that's a very big advantage now for the League of Shadows. Now, yeah, with defensive matrix and protective field, they can't pick out butt hairs even with the Overlord Psyblast. Yeah, so what happened there is that War was trying to decide whether he was going to eat the Torp and make a Skander kill himself, but the Torp did not hit him. And then he was too far out of position to end up saving himself, so it was a ballsy big play that you kind of have to make as a split-second decision, and unfortunately did not work out for War. Now, does this mean that the other War is the greater War? I'm not sure I can say that, but there was a humorous discussion before the game began in terms of whether the winning War would have to change his name. The two players did not ultimately end up agreeing on that, but I thought it was very funny. We have Siege mode now for Unknown Jedi. So, basically saying, yeah, you might have two Overlords, but I'm not going to let you take any of our towers. With the loss of War, there's now a 700 farm lead for the League of Shadows, although Thunder was a little bit out of position there. Pornexus now, so long as he's... Oh, we have another Blackout. This is the chance to make... Oh, Revenge Blackout. Everyone is blacked out. It's a dark day in the middle of this arena. So many farm ships even blacked out. These little Vikings don't even know where they're going. But these blackouts in Overlords can still be very dangerous. It can still very quickly turn, especially if another Torp or nuke lands. StimZealot does not have a nuke. Zoltan does have a nuke. So there is a Torp and a nuke available if it comes down to it. They're trying to separate... if Pornexus is going to have a hard time here because he can't stay on Thunder. If they can stay on Thunder before Pornexus can get there, they might... Oh, but he's fast. He's 0.82 speed. Iskander drops a defensive Torp, just saying, no, go away. My Overlord stays alive. Echelon now pushing in, trying to regain some of that farm, but they're abandoning the top now. Actually, they're going for Zorba, thinking maybe... Can we just get something here? Is there anyone here we can actually kill? Because it would be nice if we killed an Overlord. Skander gets just slightly out of position. And this is a tricky situation, is that if Pornexus ever has to defend two people at the same time, that's where someone can die. When it's just one ship, you generally can maintain the defensive matrix. Echelon has to be very careful here, being down a ship. They want to get as much farm as they can, try to evenize the game, get everyone well fed, and then they go back. Unknown Jedi, this has felt like a very long push, but he's only gotten 200 farm this entire time. Yeah, Zoltan is actually going back the most. Stim actually now has 11 shields, so he's a little bit more self-sufficient. Zoltan hasn't quite managed to get that 10 shield mark yet. So he feels the side blasts a little bit more than Stim does. And so this is the point where you wonder, is the League of Shadows going to try to pick off a tower? Try to make it a little bit harder, because this tower is still hurting from the last push. 3 blue ships are in. Yeah, they are focusing the side blast. Down to 9,000 total life. There's a blackout just to capitalize on the blackout and get the tower. Tower goes down. But they're down a blackout now, and the Snow has not yet used his blackout. If they could get a good push here, that could be an opportunity. But the window is closing quickly. And at this point, it's looking more and more dire for Echelon. And this is where Iskander, there's still no PDDs on the field, so Iskander's range, 12 range on his rockets, can actually kite StimZealot on the withdrawal. Stim is actually down to hulls, completely out of shields. But Thunder is taking damage. Ooh, turn on Shiloh. Butt hairs and Blackout. Meanwhile, Jedi is also taking a lot of damage. Nuke on Butt hairs, refreshing the Blackout. Although it is on a different, faster timer, I think. Very hot withdrawal from the League of Shadows. But now it's a 1,100 farm difference. It would take some exceptional play for Echelon to win this game at this point. But they still have enough damage output potential that they might be able to pick up a kill. I think that's probably the main thought right now, is that you don't think, okay, we can't win, you think, can we still get a kill? Can we still get some points out of this game? It might be dire for us, but we still have some well-fed ships, we still have a lot of damage potential, we still have a nuke, we still have siege mode, we still have an overlord with a 2,500 damage Psyblast. It's just a matter of making it happen. They still have 2 nukes, actually. They could get 2 nukes at the right time. They could still get a kill and maybe even make a big comeback. It's not impossible, it's just becoming increasingly difficult since that... Wow, that was an interesting warp. I don't know when Jedi got Siphon. The Siphon really makes it very hard for him to get his protective field back up. So he's really reliant on the defensive matrix, and there's the Blackout. There's nuke number 1. Might land on War. I think that actually was going to connect. Yeah. But there's not enough follow-up damage, especially with Jedi being so low on life at this point. He's trying to get back up its bots, but 9,000 damage is a lot. Trying to push down. Still no PDD. Really making sure he has enough energy to maintain defensive matrix just non-stop. I mean, you know, Snow has to make a lot of choices here. 600 farm, can he get 10 shields so he can transfer a bit more? Does he get PDD to eat up some of these rockets? And also with, I mean, there is no Rip Wave yet. But Rip Wave does not get to absorb as many rocket shots. We do have mines. Not enough to actually get a kill. They both pop scan at the same time, and meantime, Unknown Jedi is taking some heavy damage. Ooh, Shiloh actually is in heavier danger here. Yeah, this is not what Snow wants to be happening, having to matrix 2 ships at the same time. It was a very fretful push, but they still have a lot of energy on the Overlords, and they will continue to threaten this tower. Blue team cannot just stay there. Dumping a nuke basically just to make the Overlord go away. No hope of connection, really, unless he just sits there and eats it. And then Unknown Jedi comes out and sieges, trying to force the Overlords back. Thunder actually took a plague. Oh, and now he's burning the 2,000. He can't really stay here very long. But unlike Blue Team, there's no risk of mines, so he doesn't really have to worry about that. Still a 1,000 farm difference. 1 ship difference, but And 1 tower difference. It's still pretty dire for Echelon, but it's definitely not over yet. You know, some mistimed positioning, 1 or 2 extra siege mode shots at the wrong time can punish Zerg ships very heavily. It's just still increasingly... The win conditions are just increasingly dependent on the red team misplaying and being out of position. Another thing to think of here is we have Thunder. Yeah, still no Swarm Command. And Zorba has no Swarm Command. At 48 minutes, with 2 BCs, I find that a little bit surprising because BCs are some of the ships that are most heavily punished in Swarm Command. A lot of the times they're trying to do so much else in terms of energy denial and rockets that focusing on Swarm Command targets can be very frustrating. Echelon also does not have Swarm Command. There are no Mutalisks, no Broodlords on this map at all, with 3 Overlords at 50 minutes in. Generally, the emphasis is instead going to the Psyblast, which is up to 3,000 damage on Thunder. 2,700 damage Zorba, and 2,500 damage on Shiloh. Starting to push in. Jedi is just a little bit out of position. Oh no. Oh no, Jedi. Jedi is very out of position. What? That nuke and blackout war is burning. Snow actually blacked out Jedi, indifferent to the fact that he was blacking out his own ship, just to make sure that he got butt hairs. Snow knew that he could drop his defensive shield and make sure his ship stayed alive. Jedi managed to pull out of that. That was a very impressive save from the blue team. Echelon is trying to stay in this game as best as they can. Ooh, Drift Torp misses. It's very hard to land a Drift Torp when there's no Arbiter or either Chrono Boost or Stasis. Iskander's taking some damage, but he's probably going to be okay. More of the damage is going on the butt hairs. Ooh, Stim eats a big ion. Iskander wants to get another ion on him because unknown. This could be a very big push. So many ships are low. Zorba is on, dropping the Psyblast. Jedi turns back with 2,000 life. And Snow is pretty far back. Snow does not have blackout up again. Wow! And there's a nuke and it's gonna miss. So many ships so low, and now the question is, can Red Team actually turn this big push into a second tower kill? At which point they could really just start to chase Echelon into their base. Siege mode. And here's the nuke. But Harris is blacked out. The nuke will hit. He's down to 3,800. Where's the Raven? Oh, there's the Raven. Pornexus is back here. He's going to stay up. Snow and Pornexus, champions of the defensive matrixes this game. And now it's sitting here at 3,600 life. They want to just get a few more side blasts on it to finish it off. But it's hard to get there. That siege mode was basically just to test out, in a way, see just how well he could survive it. Sitting here on 9 shields is kind of an interesting choice. Still 4 shields here, which is one reason War definitely would not go into siege mode. But Harris was anticipating at least some of the nuke damage being eaten up by shields. Shiloh does not have the money to just randomly get a spotter, even though that would mean he would be avoiding these mines. Neither BC caught the mine. Oh, just missed it. They want to try to pick off a tower here, but it's very difficult. PCs are punished very heavily from PDD. Damage dropping on StimZealot. Oh, and they're flying into the mines. Nuke on butt hairs. Nuke's just dropping left and right, but nothing ever dies. I think after a while this whole area would start to be just reeking in radiation. Not quite enough speed to focus on Unknown Jedi. StimZealot, though, now is the one that has to be... Ooh, blacked out. Oh, Snow is going... I think Snow might... Zorba... Oh, Zorba doesn't commit! Thunder might get it... Yeah. Thunder finally picks off the Raven. And with the Raven dead, there's no way... I don't think there's any way Echelon is going to pull back into this game. It would be exceptional. Now that Snow is dead, it's going to be very, very difficult to make these big saves anymore. When he had to cut over, he was so worried about the BC that was going to get picked off in Psy Blasts. Siege mode might not be enough. Actually, it's very dangerous because this tower is going to drop very quickly, and as soon as the tower drops, they're just going to dive in on him. Oh, the blackout hit War. But Unknown Jedi, I think his emergency shields just pop. Oh, Zoltan dies. Unknown Jedi is a... StimZealot actually dies first. Unknown Jedi turns. And that is the game. Oh, that was a very exciting match. Very strong play through most of the match, and just small plays up. You know, the one big play from War where he really wanted to just pick off a Skander by getting that Torp reversed, and he ended up dying instead. And after that, it was just a slow war of attrition where a little bit of range and positioning on the Overlords let them finally pick off that Raven, and once the Raven's gone, the entire team falls as well. Great match from both teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.